Welcome, welcome, welcome. I'm trying something new on my channel, which I'll be looking into a variety of posts from all sorts of government departments and agencies throughout the federal government just to see what our clown world government has been up to today. So I hope you enjoy, and if you do, please be sure to give my channel a subscription, and I'll love you forever. And you can also give the video a like too if you're so inclined. But I haven't decided exactly how this is going to ultimately look, but I'll plan to get some background music going probably, maybe something subtle, hopefully relaxing, but I may just do a raw video where I just comb through everything I come across throughout the day, as well as posting a shorter edited version of the video, but I'm not quite 100% sure yet. So it's just this idea that I had. I've been following a lot of different government entities on X for a long time, and every once in a while I see what they're posting, but I haven't really thought about making a video out of it. So I just figured, no, why not just see where this goes? But yeah, so all of these are going to be from the last 24 hours at the latest. And I'm going to try to keep them in today's date, but there might be a few from like 9 o'clock p.m. the night before, maybe 10 o'clock or something like that. So that's basically what I'm looking at for the most part. And it's going to be everything from individual politicians or cabinet officials, as well as like the White House or the Department of Energy, all the departments and the agencies, the FBI, the DOJ, CIA, pretty much everybody you can think of. I believe that I follow probably not everyone. I actually came across a list. Let me see if I can find it. I'll actually give you the name of the link. I don't have it on my screen. Instead, I have it on my phone here. So it is USA.gov. Hold on. Is it gonna let me? No, it's not. So how about I just copy and paste it then? For fuck's sakes. I'm not prepared for this. So, all right, here it is. www.usa.gov/agency hyphen index slash lowercase b hashtag uppercase b. Anyway, it shows an extensive list of different government agencies, sub agencies, departments, pretty much any entity you can think of in the federal government. It's an index of everything. So I'm going to go through this, and they have it blocked off like from A to Z. Well, technically A to W. There's no department that starts with a Z or an X or a Y for that matter. So I'm going to go through here and see if there's any other ones like the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco. Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, and Explosive. But there is a department or a bureau, technically. It's called the Bureau of Alcohol and Tobacco Tax and Trade, or the TTB for short. And I'm assuming that they probably have a profile on here. I never thought to look, but I figured, I don't know, maybe I'll just take a look and see. Bureau of, what was it? Alcohol and Tax. No. Tobacco tax. And trade. Let's see. Do they have their own profile? I don't think they do they? No, they actually don't. Okay, well, that was a bad example. I'm not off to a good start there. But anyway, let me just stay on topic. I don't want to get off into the weeds or anything. I'm just going to stick to what I came up with today. So I'll just start with this one. So this is in reference. So at Secretary LCD, Secretary Lori Chavez de Remer, the one big beautiful bill's tax cuts overwhelmingly benefit America's workers. Those making less than 50 grand receive the largest cuts, allowing hardworking families to keep more of their paychecks. Tax cuts for working families. That's always nice to hear. So the change in federal taxes, which is a percentage, Americans earning under 50,000 appears to or will appear to benefit the most from it. So making 15 to 30,000 a year, they're going to cut your taxes by 27%. Federal taxes, that is. I mean, that doesn't include state and, of course, city tax or county tax. I don't know. It's been a while since I've lived in a blue area, so I don't know what the hell they're taxing these days. There could be a municipal tax. There could be a neighborhood tax, a street tax, next door neighbor tax. Fuck if I know. I don't know. I'm assuming that there's probably a lot, though. But yeah, so that's always nice, at least on the federal level. Any kind of tax cuts are good. But look at this, like even up to $1 million, or No, a greater than a million. They're still talking about giving those folks tax cuts too, 3.3%. I mean, anything over zero is a hell of a good number. But anyway, so I'm going to move on. U.S. Department of Transportation Secretary Duffy is pulling the plug on the California's high-speed rail boondoggle and saving taxpayers $4 billion. I actually heard about this a couple days ago, but yeah, now it's apparently been made official. This is on the U.S. Department of Transportation's official X handle or their account, their profile. Still trying to get used to the lingo. Not quite there yet, but anyway, so pulling the plug, California high-speed rails train to nowhere. Yeah, this thing, they fucking didn't finish this shit. This should really piss off anybody and everybody who's heard of this. This bullshit high-speed rail to where? What? It was, what, LA to San Francisco or some shit? I don't know if they're actually going to say it in here, but Federal Railroad Administration findings, $7 billion funding gap, as well as numerous change orders, and lacks a capacity to deliver early operating system by 2033 and a deadline missed for finalizing rolling stock procurement. Wonderful. So, yeah, these are all different publications. You want to pause the screen? You can pause it, read it for yourself. I actually try to blow up the screen that I have as much as I can. Matter of fact, let me see if I can. Well, here, let me go to the last slide here first. Terminating these grant agreement saves $4 billion for taxpayers. President Trump and Secretary Duffy saving taxpayer dollars. That's always good, especially for California. That's always a big win for the entire nation. Let me see if I can make this. Yeah, see, I'm not too crazy about all this crap here on the right. That's actually why I shrunk my screen. It's not just to show my fancy wallpaper or anything, even though it's, I kind of like the way it looks, but whatever. That's not why I have my screen shaped in this manner. It's mainly just to keep all this extra stuff off to the side. I mean, I don't have a problem showing it. It doesn't bother me. I just think it's just kind of tacky because it's irrelevant to what I'm talking about for the most part. I just figured just leaving it like this. It's cleaner. It looks nicer. Maybe I'll get some fancy animated border around it like some people tend to do. Who knows? I have no idea. But I do like the idea of doing one of these videos each day. Not sure what time I'll release it. I actually do have a day job. I actually work actually more than 40 hours a week. So it's not really going to be something that I can do at any time and work on all day. Maybe ultimately that would be nice, but I'm not expecting that, in any way, shape, or form. But during the day, I do scroll through X throughout the day when I'm on a break and whatnot, lunch break, whatever. So that's where I came up with all of these to talk about this evening. The ones that stood out the most, that seemed the most relevant to talk about. But so anyway, so the DoD Office of the Inspector General, and I don't know why this should have been already on. Got data? We do. Visit dodig.mil, military website. Anyway, so what's this all about? The dashboard, you can filter the DoD OIG's open recommendations tracker by status, issue area, monetary value, and more. As the primary oversight entity for the DoD, we provide recommendations to improve the economy, efficiency, and effectiveness of DoD programs and operations. I thought they had a link to something. This doesn't really tell me anything. What the hell? Where the fuck's the link? There was a link earlier. That's why I bookmarked it. Wait, maybe it's down in here somewhere. No, that's not. All right, well, that was stupid. I actually thought they were going to show more than just that, so whatever. That was kind of a waste of time. My bad. My bad. Oh, yeah, that's right. I didn't have to do that. Where the fuck are my bookmarks? Here they are. Okay, anyway. It's going to take a while getting used to this. I've never done this before. First ever. This is the pilot. It's the very first one that I've done, so it's going to take a little bit of learning. As well, for example, trying not to mouse over names and popping up what it pops up, all that fun stuff. But anyway, so poll record low. So there's a 72% disapproval of congressional Democrats, specifically their job performance, and that's according to White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt. Don't know if that actually goes. Oh, yeah, it does. It connects to Breitbart. I can make it a little bit larger for you. Poll record low, 72% disapprove of congressional Democrats' job performance. I just read that. That was completely pointless to have read that again. So recent polling found that Democrat leadership continues struggling to gain approval as Americans lean away from the party. A Quinnipiac University poll published Wednesday showed a mere 19% of voters approve of how Democrats in Congress are handling their duties, with 72% disapproving. I don't see how they would in any way have any reason at all to stand behind them with what they've been doing, not only just in this year, but over the past 10 fucking years. I mean, we've got Democrats that are going to ICE facilities and trying to convince people who show up in protest to start firing at ICE agents, from what I've heard. They don't directly say that. You know how this politicians, how they mince their words and they frame things in a certain way to make it not overt and illegal with what they're saying, but they dance around it. But it's pretty clear what they're saying. Anyway, yeah, so there were a couple of ICE agents that were shot at. I think 3 in total, actually. And of course, Democrats, Congress members, they were arrested visiting these facilities. There were, I don't know, 1 or 2 of them or something like that. I didn't read into the details of that, but that did happen kind of recently, like in the last couple of weeks or last week or so. But so the poll said this is a record low since March 2009, when the Quinnipiac University poll first began asking this question of registered voters. So essentially, this is like the lowest in forever. Might as well be forever. The article noted 33% approved of how congressional Republicans were handling their job, but 62% disapproved. When was the last time over 50% in Congress, or the last time that there was 50% approval in Congress in general? I mean, maybe never. Probably not in my lifetime, and I'm 40 years old, so it's probably not happened in my lifetime, to be honest. So this one comes from Attorney General Pamela Bondi. A great morning at Alcatraz with Secretary Burgum. Under President Trump, we are making America safe again. I saw this, and I was like, are they fucking going to open up Alcatraz? Is that shit really about to happen? That would be fucking nuts if they did that. Fucking A. Look at this. They got a crane up there. So I don't know if they're remodeling it. I don't know if they're just doing this for some bullshit press tour. Look, Trump is talking about opening up Alcatraz. I think I did see that in passing at some point this year. Not sure if it was recently or not, but somewhere I heard that they were playing around with the idea of potentially opening Alcatraz. And Alcatraz has been closed since what, the 1960s, 1970s? It's been closed for a hell of a long time. So I don't know if they're really seriously going for it. She is the U.S. Attorney General, and she's there touring with, I'm assuming he's the secretary, blah, 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 for the Bureau of Prisons or whatnot. It's a big museum right now, though. But I'm sure it's fully functional. I'm sure they could probably open it in a fairly quick amount of time. Is it going to be able to house 10,000, 20,000 prisoners? Probably not. But honestly, I really couldn't tell you how many. I guess I could check how many. I don't know. I guess we'll just see. See, this is when background music would be relevant, because I type a lot faster when I'm not talking. I can't talk and type at the same time very effectively. I'll start misspelling shit. Alcatraz Federal Penitentiary had a maximum capacity of 336 prisoners. That's it. However, the average population was typically between 260 and 275 inmates. So this should be like full-on death row shit. The worst of criminals. The serial killers, the child SAers, just to put it lightly. I can't fucking stand this YouTube bullshit with, I mean, look, I love YouTube. I'm on YouTube all the time. I'm terminally on YouTube. Not saying YouTube itself is bullshit. I'm just saying these stupid ass terms. The deleting of yourself, you know, the word that we've been saying for probably centuries at this point. Can't even say that on YouTube anymore. Technically you can. They're not going to ban you if you say it, but you just have to dance around these words, and it's so fucking frustrating and stupid. Look, I'm going to have to do some research on that. I know I'm getting off topic, but I'm going to have to look into that. If I say the word fuck, and then I say the word smooth, will that be essentially the same thing? If it's essentially the same thing, then I'm just going to say whatever and not even give a shit. I don't even know, but I'm trying to tread carefully. I'm trying to play nice because my channel is still extremely small. It's practically non-existent. So I just figured I should just do the right thing, go the right direction, and just see where it goes. Don't let myself too loose. So yeah, but less than 400 people. I thought Alcatraz would have housed like 3,000, 4,000 people, which, speaking of which, man, again, I don't really like to ask Google AI per se with regard to this, but because Google's not specific enough, it's usually vague, and it's typically leaning toward one political side and not the other. No, Alcatraz is not reopening as a prison. While there has been discussion in a visit by Trump administration officials, like Pam Bondi, The idea of reopening Alcatraz as a prison is highly, not unlikely, it's highly unlikely due to logistical, financial, and political hurdles. Why? The operating costs. Plus, it only houses like 300 people, if that's accurate. I find that hard to believe, but whatever. I guess I'm just going to have to believe Google, believe whatever the fuck they say. Apparently, it's 300, give or take. So, sounds political, doesn't sound like something that's seriously going to happen. Sounds, I don't know, a little propaganda-ish, but whatever, I'll move on. So this comes from the DoD Rapid Response. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, we have quickly and aggressively removed all the woke garbage from the DoD. So this one's a video. Let me just do my sound check here, just make sure. I don't know, man. I got it set at 11.5. Hopefully it's definitely not going to blow out any eardrums. I just don't want it to be too quiet. And I don't have a super elaborate setup right now, so I'm just going to hold my breath and just hope for the best. 25 seconds. Let's go.
And so we've gotten the politics, the ideology, the climate worship, the gender confusion, all the woke crap is out.
Yeah.
And we've
nice.
Quickly and aggressively.
Let's go. Fucking go.
So now it's all colorblind, gender neutral, merit based. We want
That's
the
what I'm
best
talking
of
about.
the best
Meritocracy.
in any position, and that people respond to that.
Meritocracy. All right, awesome. That is what I'm talking about. Secretary of Defense crushing it, of course, as usual. Has been doing a great job so far. Even holding church in the Pentagon, which is pretty impressive. I actually think that I actually did pull one of those posts, tweets, whatever. I'm still okay saying tweets, whatever. I'm so used to it. I've been on here for like well over 10 years, I think. But anyway, but hell yeah. I think it's great. I don't think that they should be hiring people based on what they look like, or if they don't have enough Asian people or Hispanic people or black people or enough women or enough younger people, blah, blah, blah. Meritocracy. That's the way it should be, not only across government, but that's actually the fucking law, man. That's the law. I believe it's the Civil Rights Act, if I'm not mistaken. You can't discriminate at all. Even if they're a white male. Can't do it. Sorry. So that's great to hear. I'm glad that they're crushing that, and they're working on trying to normalize our society a little more, starting with the federal government. I mean, it's going to take a lot to clean up this fucking mess that we find ourselves in these days. But anyway, this comes from CBP. Wow, I finally said it right this time. I'm not dyslexic, but sometimes I get that wrong. Sometimes I say CPB. I screw that up all the fucking time, and I don't know why. But it's the only acronym that I struggle with, and whatever. But anyway, the Global Entry mobile app is available. The app is for trusted travelers enrolled in Global Entry to complete their arrival processing instead of waiting in line to use a portal. So if you travel abroad, sounds quite relevant. Global Entry mobile app. I don't travel abroad. I have before, but I don't travel abroad very often. So this is something that would probably be quite beneficial. Wait a minute. Why the hell are they talking about it now? It says that the release date was Friday on September the 22nd of 2023. The fuck are they talking about this now for? I mean, did they do any updates? It's available. It's for trusted travelers. All right. Well, see, you can obviously tell that I'm not much of a traveler. But Customs and Border Protection announced today a new Global Entry mobile application that will further enhance the secure and efficient travel experience of more than 12 million Global Entry members. Blah, 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 whatever. That's totally irrelevant at this point. I don't know why the hell they even released that. That's ancient, dude. That's like fucking 2 years old. What the fuck? So Vice President J.D. Vance said, the passage of the big, beautiful bill marks a new era of prosperity and stability for working families in this country. President Trump and Vice President Vance are bringing America back. Fuck yeah. Let's go. Let's fucking go.
Pennsylvania. This is a great company.
Not loud enough?
A great American success story. To Don,
let's blow out some eardrums.
Dave, and Dan, thank you all for building a great business here in northeastern Pennsylvania. And thank you all for having me and all these great people here to celebrate the accomplishments of the last 6 months. Workers' wages are rising faster than inflation. You're able to buy more, you're able to do more, and we're just getting started, my friends. The passage of the big, beautiful bill.
It's a Main Street bill. It's for workers. It's for families. It's for seniors. It unleashes a new era of growth and prosperity for every single American.
If you work overtime, the federal government is not going to take a dime of that overtime. You earn that money, you ought to keep it in your pocket.
Is that fucking true? Did they really do that? If you work overtime, they're not taxing your overtime? Is that true? Was that really actually in the big beautiful bill? Wait a minute, I gotta look that. I gotta look that up. Oh man. Big beautiful. Oh come on, Google. Let me just take a look here. How good are you, Google? Let's see. In short, the one big beautiful bill signed into law has introduced changes to how overtime pay is taxed. Deduction, not full exemption. The bill doesn't eliminate all taxes on overtime pay. Instead, it allows eligible individuals to take a deduction from their federal taxable income for a portion of their qualified overtime compensation. A portion. Well, how much of a portion? The deduction is limited to $12,500 for single filers and $25,000 for those filing jointly. I mean, shit, man, I don't make anywhere near that much in overtime, even if overtime's heavy where I work. Anyway, eligibility and phase out. So the overtime pay must be earned as required by the Fair Labor Standards Act. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Starts to phase out taxpayers over 150,000, single filers, $300,000 for joint. Good. I mean, if you're making $300,000 in your household, you're making a fuckload of money. I don't care what the inflation has been over the last few years. You're making more than plenty of money. If you're living paycheck to paycheck and you make that much money, you are an absolute financial moron. So anyway, reporting requirements. I'm sorry, with all due respect, you just are, man. I mean, I don't make anywhere close to $100,000. I don't even make. I certainly don't make half of it, if I'm being honest. I mean, not to say exactly how much money I am making. I'm not going to be that specific, but I'm not making very much, and I make it last. I'm not going to go off on a tangent, but there are many different things that I do to stretch my dollar, and it works for me. At least it has up to this point, even though shit's getting a little tight, just to put it lightly. But anyway, no payroll tax impact. Overtime wages are still subject to payroll taxes, Social Security, Medicare. I mean, yeah, of course we know that. So proponents argue this tax break will incentivize work and benefit hardworking Americans. Okay, all right. Well, I mean, yeah, it's true. They are. It's not like completely 100%. You're paying zero taxes if you're working overtime, but yeah, you're getting a lot more of your overtime pay back than you were before the bill was passed. So that's an epic win in my book.
We're going to invest in American workers. We are going to make it so you pay less taxes. Invest in Americans, and your government ought to reward
Fuck
you.
taxes.
Isn't that common sense? It's time to
Fuck
keep
the Brits.
building.
Fucking
it's time
redcoats.
to keep working, and it's time to make sure that these beautiful
No
faces, these
taxes
beautiful
on
kids
tips either.
that I see in this audience,
They better pass that
they're
too.
going to have a better life than we had. That is the promise of America.
America's
and
back.
We'll never
Oh,
stop
yeah.
fighting to give it to the next generation.
Woo.
God bless you all. Thank you for having me. It's great to be here.
JD Vance. The most memeable politician that I've ever seen. Dude, they memed the shit out of him back in, what was it, January, February. They were memeing his ass off on here. I don't know if you're on X often. I'm sure you were probably well aware of that. So, all right. So moving on to Rapid Response 47. WHOMB Director Russ Vought on the $2.5 billion renovation at the Fed. So the Federal Reserve, the building, they're getting a $2.5 billion, with a B, billion dollar renovation at this building. I think it's a bit insane. I'm sure that if Trump himself were to go through there and have a close look at what they're doing, he doesn't have time for that shit. He's in his second term right now. There's so much shit that he's got on his plate right now. He really, honestly, I wouldn't even recommend he even tackle this issue to try to save any money on this, even though he absolutely could. I mean, the first thing that comes to mind is the embassy in Israel when he moved it from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. And saved the taxpayers, hundreds of millions of dollars or something like that, like a shitload of money. Just moved it to a building that already existed, that the United States already owned. It's fucking crazy that they wanted to build an entirely new building from scratch. So anyway, yeah, $2.5 billion sounds kind of insane for a building that's just there. I'm sure that they probably have to redo some drywall here, and they want to put in some fancy sconces and chandeliers and all that bullshit, but I don't think that they need to do most of probably what they're doing. But honestly, I don't know anything what they're doing. I just know that they're renovating it. That's all I've heard. So, but anyway, they say we intend to do a site visit hopefully next week, and we want answers to our questions. President of the United States is a builder. He finds it exasperating the extent to which this building is so expensive. Yeah, it's crazy. It's fucking nuts. I doubt they're going to get into the details as to exactly what they're doing. I have a feeling they're probably just going to repeat more or less exactly what I just said.
We are looking at it. As you know, Larry, last week at the president's request, I sent a letter to Chairman Powell to look at the overruns for this new renovation. And it's obviously $700 million and includes all sorts of things like rooftop terraces. And
What? They're cost overruns with $2.5 billion? I hope that includes the overruns. $700 million, dude. Fuck off.
there's
man.
issues involved with regard to the comments that the
just
chairman
print the
made
fucking
to
money.
the
Isn't that all they
Financial
do all day
Services
long? Is just print money
Committee
that doesn't exist?
that are inconsistent with the plans that were submitted to the National Capital Planning Commission.
I'm just joking, by the way. I'm not that retarded. I know they deal with interest rates and shit like
And
that.
so we are working in conjunction with the president's new appointees there. We intend to do a site visit, hopefully next week, and we want the answers to our questions addressed. And so we're at the beginning of that process, but we are taking it very seriously. As you know, Larry, the president's a builder.
Yeah. $2.5 billion worth of seriousness.
Exasperating the extent to which this building is so expensive, and the
Yeah, it's
extent to which
bullshit.
it is cost overrun. And we're going to look for as much of the information as we possibly get our hands on.
Dude, the amount of money that they've been gutting the American people over the years, that thing should be just plain ass white walls, just a shiny polished floor, and that's about it. I don't want to see any fancy paintings. I don't want to see any, like I said, sconces and chandeliers and freaking like black marble tile and whatever bullshit that they plan on just packing that place with. Shouldn't be anything like that. It should look like some ordinary ass office building. They have no reason to make it look fancy and fortified and whatever. I mean, yeah, a lot of people hate the Fed. I could understand that they might want to fortify the building for obvious reasons, but I mean, I don't think anybody's going to be, insert terrorist activities here to the Fed. I doubt, but anyway, so this comes from the U.S. Marines. The Marines, with the 1st Marines Logistics Group, they trained at the range during Riptide Fury on Marine Corps Base Camp in Pendleton, California. The Riptide Fury was conducted to improve combat effectiveness through drills, including buddy rushing, machine gun tactics, and shooting targets at unknown distances. All right, Semper Fidelis, USMC. Always nice to see that our military is doing what they do best. So that's awesome. Apparently, there's some competition coming up with the U.S. Army. Some physical competition that they do every year. I've not been in the military. I tried to get into the Air Force. They wouldn't let me in because I'm completely half deaf in my left ear. I then tried to get into the Navy. They said the same thing. Can't take you. You're half deaf. Sorry, but nope. So, but anyway, so my knowledge of the military is rather limited, but anytime something comes up with regard to the military, if it seems something, relevant to put on screen, I'll put it on screen. I mean, why not? So this also comes from Caroline Leavitt. I'm going to try not to do multiple posts from the same person, same entity. Every once in a while, if it's important enough, I might do so, but I'm going to try to refrain from just posting a whole bunch from the same source. But anyway, this says President Trump promised to end Joe Biden's illegal alien invasion, and he delivered on that promise in record time. We now have the most secure border in history. I mean, sounds a little political.
The complete and total success at our southern border that many in the media in this room continue to ignore is another example of the president keeping his word to families who have lost loved ones
Look at that
due to
That's so
fentanyl,
fucked up that
and
it's
it's another
44.
win for the American people. Customs and Border Protection just released the final operationalized stats for the month of June.
Let's
and
go.
I must highlight some of these incredible numbers. There were only 6,072 Southwest apprehensions in June,
Whoa.
15% lower than the previous record that this president set in the month of March.
No shit. 15% lower than the record? Damn. So that's record breaking. I mean, I know when Joe Biden was in office, there was well over 200,000 that were coming across the border every fucking month. Over 200,000 a month. And for only 6,000 to be apprehended. Of course, it doesn't include the ones that got through. But of course, under President Trump, I'm sure there's a hell of a lot more agents that are on the border and border guards and, border protection, CBP, ICE, customs enforcement, the whole cavalry. I mean, I think they should start putting the military down there if they're still, even just seeing a few of them slipping through the cracks. But, that's just me.
To put that in perspective, the Biden administration routinely saw the same number of encounters in a single day.
In a day.
And on many days, that number was more than 10,000 apprehensions at the southwest border. There were also 0 illegal aliens released along the southwest border for the second consecutive month.
Let's go!
President Trump promised to end the illegal alien invasion, and he has delivered on that promise to the American people in record time.
Sounds like it. Getting rid of all the illegal immigrants. At the very least, closing down the damn border so more of them can't come in. Look, I'm all about immigration, all about it. I know the whole buzzword, especially when what they say over on the Democrat, the progressive side, that we're a nation of immigrants. Everybody's family are immigrants or have ancestors who are immigrants. I mean, unless there's some of us, which my family would be included in this, came to the United States before the United States was a nation, before 1776 when we declared our independence. I mean, I think that technically they wouldn't be immigrants because there was no technical nation to immigrate to. What would they be called? Settlers, probably. Yeah, a lot of our families, they weren't immigrants, they were settlers. They settled. They were like pilgrims and whatnot. All right, so let's move on to the next. That's an awesome bit to hear. So the FTC reopens and sets aside Chevron Hess final order. So there were 2 of these, sets aside Exxon Pioneer final order. I don't know exactly what that's about. So Chevron and Exxon, I mean, I'm more familiar with Chevron. That's one of my local gas stations. But so today, let me make this a little bit bigger. The Federal Trade Commission reopened and set aside the final consent order involving Chevron Corporation's proposed acquisition of Hess Corporation. Oh. So the January 2025 final consent order prohibited Chevron from nominating, designating, or appointing Hess CEO John B. Hess Chevron's board of directors. Okay, so they're talking mergers. So that's what they're talking about. I thought this was going to be pertaining to gas prices or, I don't know, like whether if they're going to go up or down. It just sounds like just acquisitions, company acquisitions and whatnot. But so anyway, I'm just going to grab a copy of that and just throw that into the description. Anything that I open up, I'm going to try to, actually, they just stay up there on the tabs. Maybe we'll just do that so I don't interrupt the flow of the video. But yeah, anything that I open up, I'll try to put into the description. So if you want to read it for yourself, you're more than welcome to. Just check it down in the description. I was just approved for advanced features on YouTube. Beforehand, I was putting all these external links into my descriptions because I try to put everything that I go to in my descriptions, and then YouTube was like, well, they're not working. You could put them in there, but they're not clickable until you go through steps A, B, C, D, whatever. So, but anyway, they just approved me. So any external links that I put in my description, they should be clickable, hopefully. All right, anyway, this is from NNSA. Did you know NNSA works to make the world a safer place by eliminating excess weapons usable nuclear material like highly enriched uranium and plutonium? So what is the NNSA? NNSA delivers the U.S. nuclear stockpile, strengthens non-proliferation, powers a global naval fleet, and advances transformative tech. Dude, our federal government is so fucking huge. There are so many departments, sub-departments, sub-sub-departments, and agencies, and sub-agencies, and sub-sub-agencies. It is fucking crazy, man. Like, how many federal employees are there? I thought there was 300. I think that's what I looked up. How many federal employees total? I wonder what Google will tell me. 5.1? Holy fuck, dude. In 2022, the total federal workforce in the United States was approximately 5.1 million employees. Dude, we are on the road to communism. Holy fucking shit. No wonder we've got $37 trillion in debt. That is fucking insane. All right. Well, let's see. So that's 5.1 million. I actually just looked this up the other day, but let's see. Let me just go back to Google. How many Americans in total as of today? 347. So basically 350 million. So let's see here. All right, fine. I'll just be accurate. So 5.1 divided by 347,286,047. Did I get that right? No, 286,047. All right, whatever, close enough. So, all right, about 1.4% of our entire country's population works for the federal government. That includes babies and children. course, babies and children don't work for the federal government. I guess I really should just look at how many adult Americans in total. That would probably make more sense. I mean, not to dwell on this too much, but 260 million. All right. Divided by... Wait, did I do that right? 260 million? I think I did that right. Yeah. 5.1. Yeah, I did it right. All right. Well, roughly 2%, about 2% of the adult population works for the federal government. That is still absolutely crazy, man. That is way too much. Way too much. But anyway, that's the NNSA if you're curious about that. Yeah, I got to click this one. Don't click that one. Click this one. Because when I do that, it'll go all the way back to my homepage, and I have to scroll all the way back down and figure out where the fuck I was. So from energy.gov, and as this thing takes forever, preventing nuclear weapons proliferation and reducing the threat of nuclear and radiological terrorism. Radiological terrorism. That's a new one. I haven't heard that one before. Around the world are key U.S. national security strategic objectives that require constant vigilance. The NNSA's Office of Defense Nuclear Non-Proliferation works globally to prevent state and non-state actors from developing nuclear weapons or acquiring weapons, usable nuclear or radiological materials, equipment, technology, and expertise. Very interesting. I was not aware that this even existed, but I mean, somebody's got to run our nuclear program. So makes sense to me. I just wasn't aware of who it was exactly. So there you have it. So this isn't technically a government agency, but they post stuff that the DOD, the NSA, a lot of government agencies or departments, they retweet Bleeping Computer all the time. Especially, who was it? The NSA, U.S. cyber crimes or something like that. I think there's one of the military ones, like Army cyber crimes, or not cyber crimes, cyber defense, I think is what it was. Like U.S. cyber defense or something like that. Like they retweet this all the time. So I figured I'd throw it in here every once in a while probably. But anyway, U.S. Army soldier pleads guilty to extorting 10 tech and telecom firms. So they extorted 10 different ones. And this is just from today. Well, technically the article was posted yesterday because it's July 17th right now as I'm recording this. But so every once in a while, there might be an article that might be a day old or maybe 2 days old. I'm just going by off of the time and day that they post, and those are under 24 hours. So every once in a while, an article that they post might be older than 1 day. So my apologies. For example, the one that was fucking posted in 2023. Like, what the fuck was that all about? So anyway, a 21-year-old former U.S. Army soldier pleaded guilty to charges of hacking and extorting at least 10 telecommunications and technology companies in the country. What the fuck, man? Cameron John Wagenus was arrested in Texas on December 20th of 2024. So this is a little while ago, and indicted in the Western District of Washington on 2 counts of unlawful transfer of confidential phone records. Whoa. In February of 2025, he pleaded guilty to hacking AT&T Verizon, for which Connor Mouka and John Bensweer had been indicted in November of 2024. I am fucking horrible at names, so, whatever. Feel free to make fun of me if you want. Anyway, so linking their activities to the major snowflake hacking incident. Fucking snowflakes. According to the latest U.S. DOJ announcement, Wagenus was active in the underground cyberspace between 2023 and 24 under the aliases Kyber Phantom and Cyber Phantom and Buttholio. Buttholio! He conspired with others to steal login credentials, access sensitive IT systems, and demand ransom payments from breached telecommunications firms under the threat of leaking stolen data on cybercrime forums such as Breach Forums and XSS.is. What the hell was he doing in the Army? I mean, I don't know if he was in the cyber or whatever you call it. I forgot what, like cyber defense. He sure shit should have. I mean, I don't know, but it doesn't look like that they're saying exactly what he was doing in the Army. For 2 counts, unlawful transfer of confidential phone records information. Yeah. I mean, I don't know why they wouldn't have put that in there. I'd be really curious to know whatever the hell he was doing in the Army. I mean, dude, why join the service? I mean, look, actually, frankly, the federal government and the armed services, they really could use somebody like him and many, many more like him. In fact, they do have a shortage of younger folks entering the federal government or the armed services with strong computer skills, and they definitely need them, especially with the recent emergence of AI. So All right, so FTC, if you care about buying American-made, know this. Companies can't say made in the USA if it isn't so. Well, good. That's the way it should be. I mean, it sounds like common sense to me. I mean, but you know what? I know that China pulls this bullshit a lot, especially when Trump added those insane tariffs to China that were approaching like 150%. China was secretly shipping tons of goods down to Vietnam without the made in China stickers. And once they arrived in Vietnam, they had these third-party companies that were working for China that were taking everything out of these shipping containers, and they were slapping the made in Vietnam sticker on them and then repackaging them and then sending them off to the U.S. so they could try to avoid the tariffs. Pretty fucked up shit, but they were doing it, and they got busted. I mean, I don't know if they put any sanctions or anything on them, but it's probably not a big deal at the moment. No, actually, I think what ended up happening was the Trump administration, I believe, was coming after Vietnam. I think they were threatening Vietnam with retaliation if they kept up with that, because they were obviously complicit in it. But yeah, apparently they quit doing that. But for a period of time back in, when was that? Probably February and March, they were pulling that shit. So complying with the Made in USA standard. Advertising and marketing, made in the USA. Oh, man, this is going to be a lot. Look at this shit. This is long. So if you want to go get into the nitty-gritty with, what qualifies a product to possess the highly coveted Made in USA slogan, this article, this webpage will tell you all about it. This is actually on the ftc.gov website. So basic information about Made in USA claims must U.S. content be disclosed on products sold in the U.S. The content must be disclosed on automobiles and on textile, wool, and fur products. I mean, automobiles, that's a bit of a tricky situation because pretty much every automobile manufacturer in the U.S., with the exception of Tesla, 50% or more of the parts that are on those vehicles are not made in the USA at all. They're made from third-party companies overseas. That includes Ford and GM, and you name it, they do it. So, I mean, yeah, the companies are headquartered here, but the majority of their vehicles, car per car, are not technically built they're assembled in the United States, but they're not built from scratch in the United States. All right, so moving on. DoD, rapid response. We are one nation under God. Yeah, this is the one that I mentioned earlier. We gathered at the Pentagon today for our monthly worship service with Edward G1911. Not familiar with who that. Oh, Edward Graham. Okay. Servant, follower of Christ, husband, dad, former Army officer, chief operating officer at Samaritan's Purse. Not familiar. So anyway, yeah. So the Pentagon, they're holding service. That's nice. I don't have anything against that at all. I mean, if you're not Christian or if you're not religious, then just don't attend. I mean, common sense. All right, so DoD rapid response once again. The press secretary of the DoD, we can trust in President Trump. He is focused on peace, he is focused on diplomacy, and he's focused on putting America first. This is Trump. Zelensky shouldn't target Moscow. I'm assuming the Chiron. Isn't that what that's called? The Chiron? I'm assuming that might be what they're talking about, but I could be wrong. Let's give this a listen.
Are you nervous that Zelensky may go back on a deal and actually potentially use these in an offensive platform?
Uh-oh.
I'm not, and I'll tell you why.
Zelensky's an asshole.
We can trust in
Fucking
President
Zelensky.
Trump. You saw right there, he is focused on peace, he's focused on diplomacy, and he's focused on putting America first. You make a great point. The previous administration, the Biden administration, was focused on endless blank checks to Ukraine. We were funding a war. We didn't even know where the money was going in many instances. And it wasn't in the best interest of the American people. At the end of the day, American taxpayers want to know that their commander-in-chief has their back, and our troops want to know that as well.
Now, I will say I was a little bit surprised in a micro amount of pleasant surprise to hear that there's supposedly some deal that we worked out with Ukraine that we're going to give them these hundreds of billions of dollars in assets and cash, but in exchange, we're supposed to be getting things like rare earth minerals and ore and shit like that. I haven't read into it. I heard it in passing somewhere. I hope that's true because, I mean, the American people, we deserve to get our money back in one way or another. And that it might be well spent as far as Ukraine's concerned, but How the fuck does that affect me as an American citizen? They're on the other side of the planet. That's never made any sense to me at all.
President Trump is ensuring that NATO
bullshit.
is leading in their own backyard. That's what he campaigned on. That's what
I think we should get along with Russia.
I
think it'd be a good thing.
For, and Secretary Hegseth has
crazy.
been pushing for since
Better
he got into the building, meeting that 5% NATO defense spending, taking responsibility for the defense of the continent of Europe, because we have other threats as a department. We want to.
Yeah, that's a good thing. And there's a lot of countries in NATO who haven't even been paying into their obligation. What did she say? 5% of their GDP, such as Germany, France, the UK, and all the other nations that are in NATO. They're supposed to be paying a percentage of their entire country's GDP into the operation and maintenance of NATO, and they haven't been. But when Trump got into office in his first term, they started stepping up to the plate, and I'm sure they probably are now. I'd be curious to see. Germany, for example, they're apparently they're notoriously bad for it, been doing that for years. I wonder if under Biden, if they put a pause on that and they just quit paying their NATO obligations. I'm not sure on that,
Indo-Pacific,
but wouldn't surprise
focus on the China threat. We have other emerging crises that warrant our attention, and we're encouraged to see NATO step up here, our allies step up, commit to 5%, and commit to defending Ukraine. The American people deserve a president that's going to fight for them, and the Department of Defense is 100% behind peace through strength.
Yeah, no,
Absolutely. Good. Love to hear it. All right. So the next one, U.S. Department of Justice, International. Yep. INTL. I think that's what that stands for. All right. So Armenian national extradited to the United States. He faces federal charges for ransomware extortion conspiracy. Ooh. So that's a good thing. Yeah. If you actually go to the Secret Service, their top 10 most wanted page, and yes, they actually have one. You know how everybody knows the FBI has the top 10 FBI's most wanted list. The Secret Service has their top most wanted list too. Every single one of them are fucking computer hackers and dealing with cyber crimes and cryptocurrency and all that shit. And most of them are Russians and Ukrainians. I think there were only like 2 on the list who weren't. All the other ones had Russian names. It was fucking crazy. So Armenian national extradited to the U.S. He faces federal charges for ransomware extortion conspiracy. And this is out of Portland, Oregon. That's kind of odd, but all right. So an Armenian national extradited from Ukraine to the U.S. faces federal charges for his role in Ryuk ransomware attacks and extortion conspiracy targeting companies throughout the United States, including a tech company operating in Oregon. Okay, well, there you go. So Karen, like man Karen, not, I don't know. I've never heard of a man named Karen, but maybe it's a Armenian thing. Karen. Well, maybe not. Maybe it is a woman. Maybe it is a female. I don't know. I mean, I shouldn't be misgendering, right? So Karen Serbovich Vardanyan, age 33, an Armenian national, has been charged with conspiracy, fraud in connection with computers, and extortion in connection with computers. Vardanyan was extradited from Ukraine to the United States on June 18th of 2025. An Armenian national been charged with conspiracy, yada, yada. Oh, so that's a second. That's a third. Also been charged with conspiracy. Between March, let's see, their co-conspirators are alleged to have illegally accessed computer networks of victim companies to deploy Ryuk ransomware on hundreds of compromised servers and workstations. Ryuk ransomware is a type of malicious software designed to encrypt data on a victim's computer or network and prevents the victim from accessing the encrypted files until a ransom is paid. Ransomware, it's a pain in the ass. A lot of big companies have fallen victim to that. It's wild, man. And lately, they've been demanding, well, probably all along, they've been demanding ransom in the form of Bitcoin. So that's good. They're catching them. Even if it's only a couple, it's good. They're at least fighting the good fight and getting those assholes under arrest and extradited back here so they can face justice. All right. So Representative Carlos A. Jimenez, the Justice Department has seized over $10 million in cryptocurrency from the Sinaloa cartel, one of the most dangerous and violent criminal organizations. The president and AG Pam Bondi are taking the fight to the cartels and keeping our communities safe. Great work by the DEA headquarters and the FBI. Defense news, the U.S. Army in Europe, along with NATO allies, wants to pursue optionally manned common launchers and munitions to deter Russia on the eastern flank. Not too crazy to hear about it, but it's news. It's news that recently came out that they're talking about July 16th. So this, again, was yesterday. So the U.S. Army and its NATO allies are embarking on the execution of a new Eastern Flank Deterrence Line plan that aims to enhance ground-based capabilities and drive military-industrial interoperability across the alliance, the U.S. Army Europe and Africa commander said Wednesday at the Association of the U.S. Army's inaugural Land Euro conference in Wiesbaden, Germany. So what is this, Iron Dome level shit? As part of the plan to counter Russia threats and enable scalable global deterrence, the Army and its NATO allies are urgently developing standardized data-driven systems, common launchers, and cloud-based coordination, according to General Christopher Donahue. So how fucking much is this shit going to cost? Conveniently, watch this. Conveniently, they're not even going to give a dollar amount. I'm usually pretty good at looking for numbers in text, and yeah, I don't see any dollar amounts. They're just talking about how badass that this system's going to be. They're beefing up NATO. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be beautiful. And I would certainly hope that in Germany that they are finally paying their obligation for their GDP. Otherwise, we shouldn't be pulling this shit right now because we don't really have that kind of money these days. $37 trillion in debt, for example. So this is from John Kennedy, PBS president and CEO Paula Kerger on CNN this morning. Quote, people often struggle to come up with examples, end quote, of left-wing bias at PBS. Uh-oh. Actually, it's not a struggle at all. Here are just a few of PBS's biggest whiffs. This ought to be fun. All right.
I asked them for examples. People often struggle to come up with examples of what really they're talking about.
Oh, why is it only 5 seconds? I get that it's a thread, but all right. Well, let's see if I can find... Do they have other ones, I assume? All right, yeah, here we go. So in Louisiana, a PBS video claimed that preschoolers may have racial bias. What the fuck, man? Dude, so many people on the left are fucking evil. They are so damn evil. PBS affiliates also advocated for males and women's sports to have support in their push for athletic access. They have the right to say this stuff, but not with your money. I mean, I'm a man. I don't play in women's sports, so I really don't have a whole... I really don't have much of a dog in the fight, especially when these teams of girls and women that are playing in these sports, they're not really fighting back. Most of them are just agreeing with it, and they're okay with it. There's only a few, like Laken Riley and some others, who are trying to push back against it, but most of the competitors in women's sports, they're not doing enough to fight back against it, and I kind of have a problem with that. But, I mean, if they want it, it's them playing. It's not me playing. It's them playing, but... Either way, I'm totally against men playing in women's sports, obviously. But anyway, here, let's give this a listen and see what
Here's another one. This
John Kennedy has to say.
Louisiana Public Broadcasting. Becoming Papa, father's key to gender justice. I can tell you that's every mom and dad in Louisiana, when they lie down to sleep at night, and they can't.
Gender justice.
They're lying there worried about gender justice. Not. I mean, the article...
Fucking Wayne's World reference.
The title of the article suggests what you ought to believe. That's not fair or bad.
That was awesome.
Here's another one. Transgender athletes seek protections to play sport.
Oh, come on. That was it? All right. Well, let's see if it continues from here. Actually, hold on. So here, even worse... gender-affirming care for youth. You know what? I'll just play it. I mean, I'm just going to read what he's already going to say anyway. The fuck? The hidden racism of young white Americans. That you saw
on television, PBS, paid for with your tax dollars.
And black Americans are not racist? Hispanic Americans are not racist?
Headline, talking to young children about race and racism.
Why?
Another headline. How America...
Dude, that infuriates me, man. Like, small children, they don't know or understand racism at all. It is not a thing when you're a small child. It really isn't. I mean, like, my daughter had no concept of racism probably until she got into middle school. And yes, there were a lot of Hispanic kids, a lot of black kids. Her school was very diverse, and she never brought it up. Anytime that I was, I don't know, like pointing to somebody in a crowd or whatever, I can't think of a specific example, but I wouldn't say, hey, do you see that black guy over there? No, I'd say, do you see the man over there with the red hat? Blah, blah, blah. I mean, yeah, you don't make race a first thing when you're either identifying with somebody or talking with somebody or anything of that nature. It's fucking ridiculous, and it pisses me off that they keep pushing this bullshit. It's really fucking frustrating.
Because history of racism connects to divisions
Just stop talking about it, as Morgan Freeman once said.
Another headline from PBS. The hidden racism of young white Americans. Your tax dollars.
Hard at work.
Another headline. AP fact check. Trump seeds race animus with COVID falsehood.
Dude, don't even get me started on fucking COVID falsehoods.
Biden trumpets economic gains, but struggles
especially with
to
the
get credit.
fucking P.
Another headline from PBS. The other Olympians, transgender athletes in the Nazi area.
Oh, my God. For real? What the fuck is wrong with these people? And that's on PBS. It's your tax dollars. Because a lot of our tax dollars, they're going to fund PBS. I don't know if they get 100% of their funding from the government, but I mean, dude, isn't the press supposed to be the people's voice and checking the government and holding the government accountable? How does that make any sense when you're supposed to be holding the government accountable, but the government is cutting your fucking paycheck? Makes no sense whatsoever. In fact, that should be illegal, if anything, that PBS or any member of the press that receives any government money of any way, shape, or form. And if you're desperate to get funding because you're running out of money, well, it sounds like your time's coming to an end. It sounds like some other publication is going to take your place. Your readership is going to move on to somebody else, someone who's more successful than you, because there's probably a pretty good reason why you're failing. So, all right, so this is number 4 out of 5, only 48 seconds. I might as well just play them out at this point. There's only one more after this. Oh, there's more.
Democracy on Trial, Part 1. A blueprint for the case against Trump. Is that fair and balanced?
And that's PBS. Remember, they're supposed to be nonpartisan. They're not supposed to lean left or right because they're getting federal tax dollars. So they should be as in the middle as humanly fucking possible, but they're not. They're absolutely not. I mean, I'm pretty sure that he's making this as crystal clear as he possibly can.
Racism in the era of Trump, an oral history, another headline.
Wonderful.
January 13th, 2020. Another. This one's really special. A serial liar. How Sarah Palin ushered in the post-truth political era in which Trump has thrived.
Post-truth. Dude, if there's any lies happening, it is absolutely coming from the other side. Thanks to President Trump's rescission package, taxpayers may finally be able to get out of the business of deeply weird left-wing media. That's a good thing. Well done, John Kennedy, Senator Kennedy. All right. Yeah, we did all 5 seconds of that. That was kind of silly. All right. So I'm going to get his name wrong. Timothy Pigott. Under the leadership of POTUS and Secretary Rubio, we are delivering results for the American people at the speed of relevancy. And what does that mean exactly?
Hey, this is Tommy Pigott, Principal Deputy Spokesperson here at the State Department.
Is it just a political ad?
Spokesperson Tammy Bruce just finished another briefing here in the State Department briefing room. Not. And really the main takeaway after the brief is the fact that President Trump and Secretary Rubio are delivering real results for the American people
Give us an
at
example.
the speed of relevancy. It's something that Secretary Rubio says all the time. In a world where something can happen around the globe and we hear about it in a minute, we need to be able to respond effectively and quickly to protect the American people and advance our national interests. And that's exactly what we're seeing from Secretary Rubio and President Trump. A hands-on approach guiding this foreign policy, living up to the promises that have been made to the American people to make America safer, stronger, and more prosperous.
Okay, well, that was kind of a waste of time, just a freaking endorsement, but all right, whatever. I'll just move on from there. HHS.gov, more than a dozen major food companies have made MAHA moves in recent weeks. Make America healthy again, by the way. Removing artificial dyes, slashing added sugar, and helping to restore real food to American families. Yeah, the red dye was the big one. What was that, red number 50 or something like that? They actually make that from tiny little mites, like these tiny little bugs, these little critters that they squash. They squash them, and they use their guts to make red dye for our fucking food. Did you know that they put red dye in our meats, in our ground beef, in our steak? And all that shit that you see at the meat counter at the grocery store, they put red dye in that shit. That's fucking nuts. Absolutely fucking nuts. So Secretary Kennedy is leading a historic shift in U.S. nutrition policy from fixing dietary guidelines to restoring whole milk in schools. Nice. This is how we make America healthy again. Hell yeah, man. I've drank whole milk my entire life. It's good stuff, man. It is so delicious.
On screen, more than a dozen major companies have joined the MAHA movement.
All right, let's go.
Secretary Kennedy mentioned...
Oh, dude, Hershey and Nestle? What? The axis of evil. I cannot believe they're actually jumping on the MAHA train. That is big news. I'm going to have to dig into that, especially for Nestle.
40% of the companies are on board. Is that those that we're seeing right now here?
Well, I will say this is the latest in a string of wins for Maha.
So how the hell is PepsiCo going to make much of a difference? Are they going to get rid of corn syrup across their entire platform, all their platforms across PepsiCo? I did hear President Trump did make a mention yesterday, I think, that Coca-Cola that is produced inside America, all Coca-Cola that's going to be produced and sold to Americans is going to be made from cane sugar and not from high fructose corn syrup. That would be amazing. I might have to start drinking soda again. I haven't drank soda in years. I just don't care to drink it anymore. And, it's just not good for you, especially with the whole corn syrup thing. But Mexican Coca-Cola is the shiznit.
What you're seeing for the first time in history is that the major food companies, these big food, is really back reeling on its heels. And that has happened because Secretary Kennedy and Trump have really swept the whole field in terms of nutrition policy and health.
Did you see that? 20% of our foods have synthetic dyes in them. That was here at the bottom of the screen. 20% of all of our foods have synthetic dyes.
It used to be an issue on the left that they would be defending real food, whole food, slow food, against ultra-processed foods. The Republicans
it's going to taste better.
Usurped all those issues. Now it's Republican moms who are advocating for whole milk, and Secretary Kennedy is arguing against sugar. That is a 180 political reverse in politics.
Sure
and what you see here is tremendous wins on the part of Maha. And, I think the next win that we really have coming up that is huge is going to be the change in the U.S. dietary guidelines for Americans, which is really going to have the greatest impact on the average
get rid of that food pyramid.
So pulling those two things together, dietary guidelines and whole milk. Listen to Secretary Kennedy about that.
Well, I grew up in a world where milk was the healthiest thing that you could eat. There was been an attack on whole milk and cheese and yogurt over the past couple of decades. And
it's so good.
Brooke and our agencies are about to release new dietary guidelines in the next several months that will elevate those products to where they ought to be in terms of contributing to the health of our children.
So do you support that in terms of whole milk? We have statistics that say 94% of parents serve whole or 2% milk to their school-age children at home. But what about schools?
Absolutely. In schools, whole milk is still illegal. You are not allowed to give it away. And what we have now is bills in Congress and Secretary Kennedy and Secretary Rollins arguing to restore whole natural milk. You can't skim milk from a cow, right? And so what happens in schools
It's a fair point.
That's watery, tasteless milk. They end up opting for strawberry and chocolate milk, which has
that skim milk
for flavor and taste, which has as much sugar as a candy bar.
So good.
And these bills, and Kennedy is just asking to restore whole milk in schools. And again, where's the left on this issue? They are defending watery milk in schools, and they would side with that. I mean, already on the right side of the issue.
I only drink whole milk. I don't know when it became an enemy.
Same here. I've always drank whole milk. Now, growing up, we did have reduced fat milk for a little while. I don't know why. Maybe it was a little bit cheaper than whole milk. I don't know. I mean, we weren't exactly rich at all. I mean, we were relatively poor when I was growing up. So, I mean, we didn't drink skim milk. I know my grandparents, they always drank skim milk for some weird reason. But whole milk, man, that is the shit. Ever since my daughter was born, like once your kids are old enough to drink milk, what is it, like a year and a half, maybe 2 years old, something like that? Or no, it's probably younger than that. It might be like a year old. I don't know. It's been a while. She recently graduated from high school, so that was kind of a long time ago. But ever since she was a toddler, I've been drinking whole milk ever since. And I got no complaints. It's not made me fatter. I mean, I'm 5'10". I weigh 132 pounds, and I eat what I want. I'm just blessed with amazing genes. I'm kind of a freak of nature as far as that goes.
Up with that to the side. These dietary guidelines that you mentioned, why are they so important? When will we get them?
Yesterday, Secretary Kennedy said that they're going to come out in the next few months. They are so important
nice to get it tomorrow.
Everyday Americans, to all of us, because what do they control? They control what goes into school foods, hospital food, food for the military, education programs, feeding programs for the elderly, and they are downloaded as the virtual gold standard by all doctors, nutritionists, dietitians. So even if you think you're not getting your nutrition advice from a .gov website, that advice is coming to you. And the fact is, as everybody knows, that food pyramid with the big bottom slab of all
dude, grownup.gov.edu, that's always been the gold standard when it comes to writing essays or writing reports in school. You always have to cite your sources that are reliable. .edu, .gov, that's always been like the top tier sources to have that you look to if you want the most accurate possible information. In the bullshit that I wouldn't put 100% of the blame on the left, even though they own the vast majority of it. They've been muddying up those systems for years at this point. Our university system, it's really fucking appalling how unreliable that they've become in recent years.
That has not contributed to good health in America.
All right. So anyway, that's fantastic news. I hope that comes out sooner than later. 3 months, hell, man. That should be coming out by the time that school starts in August. But, I mean, I get it. They have to do it accurately. They have to go over it and dot every T, cross every I. All right, but anyway, so U.S. Department of Energy, Aragon isn't just a national lab, it's a national asset. Today, Secretary Wright visited the cutting-edge facility that is redefining the limits of discovery in quantum supercomputing and AI innovation, engineering the next era of American energy. So that's nice. Aragon. So that's the national lab. Am I saying that right? Aragon? Department of Energy Lab develops science and tech innovations, delivering powerful energy and national security solutions. I mean, it sounds more like an ad than anything, but I mean, it comes from U.S. Department of Energy, so I figured it was relevant to at least mention for a second. So this comes from the St. Louis Fed. Weekly spot prices for Brent and West Texas Intermediate crude oil increased to $71.77 and $69.15 per barrel, respectively, in the week ending July 11th. For spot prices from EIA Gov on a weekly, monthly, or annual frequency, see for red. And so this is going back to, so this is a year. This is a graph over the last year. I'd be curious to see what that looked like over the last 5 years. Probably a roller coaster, but, so what is this, the main page? Might be the main one. I don't know why it wouldn't just take me to that graph. So they got jet fuel prices, crude oil prices, the propane. So number 2, heating oil prices. Man, that's nice, man. They break all this shit down. Ultra low sulfur. Number 2, diesel fuel prices. That's oddly specific. All right, conventional gasoline prices. That's good to see. So annual dollars per gallon, not seasonally adjusted. Annual. No, I don't want to go back that far. So 06 weekly. Let me just see what it shows here. It's supposed to show weekly going back to, it goes all the way back to the 80s. Dude, that is fucking crazy that it spiked that high in 2022. I remember that. You remember that when gas got up to like $5, $6? Yeah, that was about right. June 3rd, 2022. It was around then. I remember that. So I live in the Tampa Bay area. I live in the St. Pete area. And gas in our area around that time got up to like $5.50 a gallon, dude. That shit was like legit starting to scare me. That was absolutely crazy. Kind of a catastrophe. Of course, it dipped really low when nobody was driving because everybody was locked the fuck down. But it does look like it's trending downward. I mean, that's good. It kind of had a bump there here at the very, when was that? June 20th, 2025. It bumped up a little bit. Wait a minute. Is this trying to suggest that gas is at $2.19 right now? Is that true? I don't know if there's no way that that's true. I mean, it's been a couple of weeks since I've got gas. Let me just take a look here. Let me see if I can just find out. Find gas, search by city. Let me just try Tampa. It's not exactly. Yeah, see, that's about what I expected it to be. It was like $2.73, $2.75 a gallon here. I mean, is it cheaper somewhere else? Or everywhere else, I mean? The Southeast is supposed to have the cheapest. Normally, it should have the cheapest in the among the cheapest regions of the country. Where should I go? Let me try. Let's try Philadelphia. I don't know. $2.65. Damn, they're cheaper than we are. $2.74, about the same. It sure as hell isn't $2.15 or whatever the hell it was. But yeah, anyway, I mean, it's good that it's little by little on the decline. So hopefully it'll keep going down and President Trump will deliver his promises. Hopefully they replenish the strategic oil reserves that Biden depleted the hell out of to try to artificially keep our gas down just because they had another election to worry about. So, all right. So let's move on to the next one. I think that I'm getting fairly close to being done. Oh, shit. What the hell did I do? Did I screw up again? Damn it. I screwed up again. I'm telling you, it's going to take a bit for me to get used to this. So let me go back to where I was. Hopefully I'm down this far. Oh, yeah, I am. Here we are. All right, good. No harm, no foul. So DoD rapid response, we are breaking records across the board when it comes to recruiting. That's what happens when you remove the woke distractions and allow our warfighters to do their jobs. Press Secretary DoD.
The new strategies that are being used to meet our
with Matt Gaetz. Sucks he just bailed.
Well, I'm excited to say and proud to say that.
Wait, Matt Gaetz is on One American News now? Is that what his job is now? That really irritated me. I don't know if they sabotaged him or if he got railroaded somehow, but it was really weird that when Trump won in the last election, how he picked Matt Gaetz to be the U.S. Attorney General. Everybody was rallying for that. Everybody on the right, more or less, they wanted that to happen. I mean, look, like we weren't expecting that to happen. That came completely out of left field. I was like, whoa, Matt Gaetz. That's interesting. I mean, I'm sure he's got a pretty good background in law and everything, but yeah, that just came out of left field. But I was like, hell yeah, man, let's go. He's always been a loud voice in Congress for the right and always been, of the pro-Trump camp, MAGA and whatnot. But he ended up stepping down and he just disappeared from Congress. It was fucking weird. I don't know. I don't know if somebody had some dirt on him or something. I mean, I knew that there were rumors going around about Matt Gaetz. When was that? Like a couple years ago, about some sexual fling or harassment accusations or something. I don't know. I don't know the details on it, but anyway, whatever.
We are breaking records when it comes to recruiting. And that's not just one service. It is across the armed forces. People are so excited and invigorated to serve under President Trump and Secretary Hegseth.
A lot better than
I
under
go to bases
Biden. Are you
across
fucking
the country,
kidding?
and you can really
anybody
feel
joined the military
the
under Biden.
difference and the inspiration that a lot of our service members have because they're being allowed to do their jobs. Before, under the previous administration, we were focused on pronouns and naming ships after political activists, as I said earlier. Now we're focused on warfighting. We're getting back to basics, and we're letting our warfighters do the job that they raised their right hand to do. They're able to protect the American people again and to be deadly. And it is unlocking incredible momentum for this department. We're really excited to see it. The Navy, the Air Force, the Space Force, and the Army have all hit their recruiting metrics ahead of schedule, 4 months early, 3 months early, and the gains are going to keep coming because we're refocusing on peace through strength. And I think the previous administration had really forgotten that strength and how incredible our warfighters are when they're unleashed and able to do the job they signed up to do.
Right on, man. Right the hell on. That is awesome. Always nice to hear that. So this also DoD rapid response. I think I did another one of those a little bit ago. Anyway, Sean Parnell, ATSD. Credit to where credit is due to the Secretary of Defense, who has made it a focus of his tenure as Secretary of Defense to ask the Europeans to do more. We have our European allies right now committed to spend more on their defense. And part of that deal is buying American weapons from America, manufactured in America. Hell yeah.
Credit where credit's due to the Secretary of Defense, who has made it a focus of his tenure as SecDef to ask the Europeans to do more. It asked the Europeans to step up and spend more on defense, between 3.5 and now 5%.
Good.
I would also add that 4 months ago, people were saying that it was not possible.
Look, man, all those threats that they're worried about, they're on their side of the planet. It's not on our side of the planet. We've got two oceans separating us from where all these problems are that they're worried about with Russia and China and whatever the hell else they're worried about. And the Middle East and conflicts that are going on over there and everything. They should be paying a hell of a lot more than we are. In fact, I don't know why we're really paying much of anything. We should only be paying like 20% or something. I mean, I get that Russia's got intercontinental ballistic missiles. They've got capabilities, hypersonic missiles and whatnot. Yes, they're capable of potentially striking the U.S., but NATO is it's primarily, in my opinion, it seems to be protecting all these other countries, not really us. I mean, we got the oceans protecting us, so we got a lot of time to intercept anything heading our way. Plus, Trump's talking about building the Golden Dome. I think that's what he called it, the Golden Dome. It's like the Iron Dome of Israel, except it's going to be America's version. So if we get any incoming missiles from any adversaries, then we'll be able to have this system where we'll blow all these missiles out of the sky before they come anywhere close to the U.S. So I think that if we were to get the Golden Dome, I think the whole NATO thing, let Europe pay for it. I don't think we should pay a fucking dime for it if we end up with something like the Golden Dome.
People were throwing shade at the SecDef and saying that he couldn't get it done, but he did in conjunction with the president. So we have our European allies right now committed to spend more on their defense. And part of that deal is buying American weapons from America, manufactured in America, as part of this framework to help support Ukraine while he pursues peace. And as I understand it, like, this deal is very much it's very much in the early stages, right? But you have different NATO countries wholeheartedly on board with committing, with giving their resources, financial resources, through EUCOM to NATO, which will then in turn be weapons to Ukraine and monies back to the U.S. Treasury. So again, this is a good deal for the country. It's in keeping with the SecDef's national defense strategy of asking for our allies to do more while we can shift our focus to the Indo-Pacific where we think it belongs.
I mean, it's great for Raytheon. It's great for, for our military contractors. I'm sure that they're absolutely loving this. But, I mean, come on, let's be real. What other countries are they buying the majority of their weapons from? Probably not anybody but the United States. I mean, we make the best of the best. We've always made the best of the best. All right, so let's move on. I think I'm getting pretty close to being done here. So the USA Government News, not really a government agency, but, it's the USA Government News. Yeah, they don't have the gray check mark, but whatever. Breaking, President Trump has officially defunded Newsom's failed high-speed train to nowhere, which I mentioned back at the beginning, but this actually contains Trump's post from Truth Social, so I'll give this a read. To the law-abiding, tax-paying, hard-working citizens of the United States of America, I am thrilled to announce that I have officially freed you from funding California's disastrously overpriced high-speed train to nowhere. This boondoggle, led by the incompetent governor of California, Gavin Newsom, has cost taxpayers hundreds of billions of dollars, and we have received nothing in return except cost overruns. The railroad we were promised still does not exist and never will. The project was severely overpriced, overregulated, and never delivered. Thanks to Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy, not a single penny in federal dollars will go toward this new scam ever again. This was an ill-conceived and unnecessary project and a total waste of taxpayer money, but no more. In fact, we should be suing the state of California to get every penny back, because that was fraud up and down. Fraud and God knows what else the hell. What, racketeering, probably elements of extortion and all kinds of shit. I mean, where did the money go? It had to go somewhere. It didn't go into rails. It didn't go into trains, apparently. I'm sure that they probably dug a few tunnels and they probably laid, 50 miles of tracks or something like that. But absolutely fucking ridiculous, man. But yeah, that's good. That's good they cut them off finally. So from the U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, Mayor Bass, our officers wear masks because rhetoric like yours has ramped up threats and assaults against their families. They're doing their job in detaining illegal aliens who broke immigration law. Enough of the fear-mongering for political attention. So this is in reference to Mayor Karen Bass's post on July 15th. Who are these masked men going around our city, snatching people off the streets? Duh, they're ICE. She knows who the fuck they are. Where are the people they are detaining? I am demanding answers through a Freedom of Information Act request on behalf of the people of Los Angeles. Fucking joke,
bulk of the executive directive was around the city family, but we also are filing a Freedom of Information Act because we want to know who these masked men are. We want to know where the people are that they're detaining. Do you know they've detained hundreds of people? They're going home. Families don't know where their loved ones are. They don't know if they're in Los Angeles, California, or even in the United States. They don't have access to legal counsel. So the court decision that happened just last evening basically said that people do have to have basic rights.
Dude, lady, you should be a lot more focused on water for your fucking fire hydrants and a lot less focused on illegal aliens or criminal illegal aliens especially. All right, moving on. Whatever. Fuck that. Fuck that biznatch. So from the Department of State, semiconductors power our daily lives from phones to cars to AI when we produce them in the USA. As POTUS is making a reality, we protect our national security while creating high-paying jobs for Americans. Sounds like another ad, if I'm being honest. I don't know. We'll see what this is all about, though.
It's about the national security of our country. It's very important.
It is about the national security of our country. Dude, push start. I've used push start. I've driven a push start car. I do not own a push start car. My car is a 1999 Mitsubishi Mirage, so it's very cheap, very old, very easy to work on car. Runs great. Paid only $1,100 for it about 10 years ago. I still drive it every single day. But from what I've heard, a lot of people are really irritated with this start-stop feature. Every time your car stops, the engine turns off, and then it turns back on. And then also the push start. Apparently, people miss keys. I mean, in new cars these days, they don't have real, actual keys. You know, that you put it into the ignition or you put it into your door to unlock the damn thing. They don't have those anymore.
Semiconductors are the small microchips that really power everything we rely on in our daily lives. From our cars to our homes. To anything in your kitchen.
Everything in your world that touches some type of electrical component has to be powered by a
this tech shit's getting a little absurd.
Really, when we say
people can't afford all this shit.
It's true.
What, a $10,000 refrigerator tells you what kind of food you got in there?
Investment of producing these chips in all these different countries, and unfortunately not in America.
The U.S. government has made it a priority for economic...
Dude, I read this the other day. Somebody used AI. I don't know if it was ChatGPT, but they listed every ingredient that they had in their fridge and how much of each ingredient that they had in their fridge. Every single thing they had in there. And then they told ChatGPT, give me a list, a complete list of every single type of meal that I can make with all of these ingredients that I have in my fridge. And I think they also included their pantry. And it came up with this enormous fucking list full of all these recipe ideas. I was like, damn, dude, that's fucking
security,
dope.
But also national
that was a good idea.
Defense, that we have,
might have to try that.
Production here.
What does it do for the local community? One is great, high-paying jobs. There's thousands of workers that work in these facilities, ranging from highly skilled engineering talent to folks that just have a 2-year technical degree from a community college.
And with that drives population growth. So that means more jobs will come,
more investment will come. And that's really what's happening, creating a whole ecosystem.
For every one semiconductor job that's created, it supports 5.7 jobs in the local community.
But also what's exciting is it's driving all these advancements in artificial intelligence. And that technology is not just relevant for future industries, but it's also really relevant for our country. These are the largest mega projects that the country has seen, and they're starting to make product in some of the states.
Until Cyberdyne Systems, Skynet takes over. For fuck's sakes. Let's hope it doesn't come to that. Hopefully we got something in place to keep that catastrophe from happening. All right, so from the FBI, 4 members of MS-13 clique indicted on racketeering conspiracy in connection with 3 murders in Baltimore, Maryland. So let's see what this is all about. 4 members of MS-13 clique indicted on racketeering conspiracy in connection with 3 murders in Baltimore. I just said that. So the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Maryland unsealed an indictment charging 4 members of the Centrales Locos Salvatruchas CLS. Why didn't I just say CLS clique? Of MS-13 in Baltimore with racketeer influenced and corrupt organizations, the RICO Act conspiracy. This marks the second indictment of the office unsealed this week in connection with MS-13 RICO Act conspiracy activity. On July 15th, 3 other MS-13 members were indicted on a RICO Act conspiracy charges in connection with murdering a homeless man and drug trafficking in Prince George's County. So definitely doing the good work, fighting the good fight. Obviously, I will link this article also if you want to read it. But since I'm kind of running over on the time that I had set aside for myself, I'm just going to move on. So the U.S. Marshal Service, throughout the spring and summer months of 2025, the U.S. Marshal Service has focused collaborative enforcement efforts on violent criminal alien fugitives in support of ICE and the Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force. All right, so this is from usmarshals.gov. And let's see here. So throughout the spring and summer months of 2025, the U.S. Marshal Service has focused collaborative enforcement efforts on violent criminal alien fugitives in support of Immigration and Customs Enforcement and the Make D.C. Safe and Beautiful Task Force. USMS fugitive investigators and resources throughout the DMV, which is the District of Maryland, Virginia, have partnered with immigration officers and are dialed in on locating and apprehending fugitive gang members associated with transnational criminal organizations like MS-13, 18th Street, and Tren de Aragua. The joint effort has yielded several arrests thus far, and the mission continues. Nice. So the significant arrests, which you could read if you want to pause, if you really want to read up on it, they caught these gang members, and I'm sure there are plenty more to come. All right, so are we at the end? Oh, no, hold on. Don't take me all the way back. All right, good. So Federal Reserve speech by Governor Kugler on a view of the housing market and the U.S. economic outlook. I don't know if I'm going to have time to really get into this, but at least I'll pull it up. Oh, okay, so this is a speech that he gave. Yeah, I don't honestly don't have time to skim through all of this, but the cost of home ownership, while shelter is a necessity, home ownership is an opportunity because it's a pathway, yada, yada. What I'm most concerned about is the fact that the average home costs damn near $400,000 across the U.S. It's absolutely fucking insane. Zillow's index for high-value homes increased 1% per year over the last 3 years, and it increased 3% per year for low-value homes. That is a problem, man. That is a big problem for not only millennials, but for Gen Z, too. Most people are, in 15, 20 years, nobody who doesn't own a house, they're not going to afford one if this shit doesn't get under control. It's absolutely getting insane. Ownership rates for several groups remain above levels recorded before the pandemic. Let's see, demand factors. Let's see, focus on the long-run trends. U.S. population rose slightly less than 1%. I don't know, man. It sounds like he's trying to butter it up and make it sound like that it's good, but it's not. It really isn't. Material and labor costs for home construction have increased about 25% in real terms since the mid-2000s. Dude, it's gone up, I think, a lot more than that. What are you talking about, man? But this is on federalreserve.gov. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it's, the ironclad truth. It doesn't necessarily mean that at all. This is actually a video that it's probably his speech, which is probably a long one, but just no, come on. 6 hours? Holy shit, man. Reimagining the affordable housing system. All right. Well, I'll link this as well if you want to give almost an entire waking day of your life to watch it. It went from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. today. So I think it's worth checking out if you have time to look at it, because the housing market across our country is not good. So hopefully they at least address that and talked about some ways that we could try to get it under control, because it is getting ludicrous. So U.S. Immigrations and Customs Enforcement, the only word our ICE officers should be called is heroes. They're putting their lives on the line to protect our nation from those who wish us harm.
Men and women of ICE do every day is amazing work. They're not out there racially profiling. They're a professional law enforcement agency. And when, rhetoric like that or statements like that get out, it totally diminishes what ICE does. Kind of like the statement you had from the representative in Rhode Island, where he talked about our neighbors being arrested by the Gestapo. Well, what that representative failed to bring up was the fact that he was an MS-13 gang member who had a pending charge for fentanyl distribution.
All right, I think that's it. And that's all I got. That's all I got for today, for July.
Under previous administration.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, okay. Maybe not.
There was
Hold
great
on.
cooperation with ICE. There weren't as many sanctuary cities, if any.
Don't go yet.
Where
Wait.
now it's, the law enforcement mission, like I said, has been now turned into a political football. And it puts the men and women
under arrest
in the crosshairs, not only for danger,
with your fucking
but just
beer
being
gut.
used and our mission being used to someone's political gain.
Uh-oh, that's
it's
in
not
Florida.
effective for the American
Yeah,
population.
get him. Let's go. Why is it doing that, man? That can't be on my end. That's got to be the video.
I want to ask you about this July 8th memo
ticker was still going.
That you put out that declared that detained migrants, so these are people mostly on the interior of the country, are ineligible for bond hearing and may not be released if they are here as unauthorized migrants. So essentially, if they're arrested, they're going to be held all the way through their hearing, which could take months, could even potentially take years. And
Alligator
some reports say we're
Alcatraz.
talking about millions, potentially, of people in that category. How do you respond to that?
Alligator Alcatraz. What the fuck is going on with this video, dude?
Under the last administration, we saw so many people that were apprehended illegally coming through the border, and they're using the bond system just to go ahead and be released out into the community to have a court date in 2037,
No, they won't come back.
2035, and never show up for court.
No, they won't.
Illegal
I'm sorry,
aliens
I
that are in
forgot.
custody
That's what
under
they'll say. I
Section
forgot.
236 of the law, they are
God,
still
you told
getting
me like
bond
10 years ago.
determinations, but those who did not cross or weren't legally admitted into the United States, they're not eligible right now. And that's based on the law.
Send them back. Send them back. Catch and release back to where they came. All right, so that's going to do it for me for July 27th of 2025. If you like the video, please like. Please subscribe if you have a chance, and please leave a comment. I'll read all my comments, at least for the next few coming days. I mean, unless I get overwhelmed, which I clearly haven't been. So, yeah, if you leave a comment, I'll be sure to check it out. But anyway, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.